Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Guman-Singh. Topping our newscast, the National Hurricane Center has discontinued the tropical storm warning for the U.S. Virgin Islands as of 11 a.m. today. Erica is no longer threatening the territory. However, rough seas and hazardous marine conditions may continue. Many public works crews and residents could be seen clearing out debris, cleaning up areas on St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John. Here we see some scenes from St. Thomas right there in Frenchtown, Northside, Waterfront, and more. News 2's AccuWeather forecaster Bernie Reno is standing by with the latest. Bernie?
Well, St. Thomas and St. John, not any big impacts from Erica. Certainly not the case in St. Croix. Almost 2 inches of rain, strong gusty winds, lots of power outages. Erica will continue to move to the west and northwest, probably weakening over the next 24 hours. We're not even forecasting the system to ever become a hurricane, although there is a possibility of that. Impacts will be across central, well, the Florida Peninsula as we head toward early next week. You'll notice been a lot of high clouds or a lot of clouds in the wake of Erica. That's why it was a relatively cloudy day. But better weather, look at the clear sky to our east on the way tomorrow. But here comes our next tropical wave. I'll have all the details coming up with your AccuWeather forecast in just a little bit, Sandy.
Thanks for that, Bernie. While the curfew has been lifted and all the ports have reopened, the territory was spared any major damage from Tropical Storm Erica, but many areas on St. Croix were affected. So the efforts to restore power are still ongoing. News 2's Erica Parsons has that story.
The cleanup has been slow but steady after Tropical Storm Erica dumped rain and spread severe winds across the territory.
We can report that all, as far as debris and trees are concerned, all thoroughfares in the territory are clear.
Public works crews and innovative and WAPA crews have been working since sunup to clear streets and restore communications and power. Erica packed winds of 45 miles per hour with even higher gusts. The storm was originally projected to pass closer to St. Thomas and St. John, but her path shifted, putting the storm south of St. Croix.
Tropical Storm Erica was south of St. Croix. St. Croix was in the brunt of the northeast quadrant, or the strongest aspects of the storm. So we experienced more down poles, lines, and trees than St. Thomas, St. John.
At 11 p.m. Thursday night, Governor Mapp declared a state of emergency. He also issued a curfew across the VI, activated the National Guard, and deputized all territorial peace officers.
I find that this order is necessary to maintain the health, welfare, and safety of the Virgin Islands in the face of danger and disaster arising from Tropical Storm Erica.
The curfew was lifted at 8 Friday morning in the St. Thomas-St. John district and 11 a.m. Friday on St. Croix. Banks reopened and everything was almost back to normal by midday.
We lifted the curfew in St. Thomas at 8 a.m. this morning and asked all government workers in St. Thomas, St. John to report to duty at their workstations at 11 a.m. We are not calling up to duty the government workers on St. Croix because we do have tremendous power outage. We do have telephone systems that are not yet fully restored.
Erica Parsons, News 2.
Officials say although Tropical Storm Erica is no longer a threat, the sea conditions remain rough and boaters are urged to be cautious, as we just mentioned. During the storm, most of St. Croix was without power, but the St. Thomas-St. John district stayed online. Officials say they have to take feeders offline when the situation becomes dangerous. WAPA crews have been working all day to restore power, and they're nearly complete. News 2's Erica Parsons has more.
As you can see behind me, there's a WAPA crew here working to repair a broken pole, a broken cross arm actually on that pole. And this crew and other crews like them have been out all day trying to restore power on St. Croix. Almost all of the power has been restored to St. Thomas. All but one of those feeders stayed up.
We have all the feeders back in, all main feeder lines. There's just little pockets here. There's a pocket by Bolongo, Windberg. There was one in Fortuna.
On St. Croix, it's a different story. All of St. Croix's feeders, with the exception of Feeder 5, which serves the hospital, were taken offline.
We only turn a circuit off if there's danger. You want to make sure that in the event there's a situation where there's a disconnection on a lines on the ground or anything of that nature going on, that the power goes out until we can go in the field and make sure it's safe.
Crews have been working since sunup to remove downed poles, repair lines, and restore power.
We had a lot more damage on St. Croix, about 12 or 13 broken poles, about 8 areas with lines down. So we're getting the main feeders back up right now.
By 2 p.m. today, 2 St. Croix feeders were fully restored, 7 were energized, with only 6B offline. Executive Director Hugo Hodge says St. Thomas crews have been dispatched to help speed the restoration process.
We're making some good headway in St. Croix, and we should have that complete here sometime soon.
Both he and the governor urge residents to be cautious if there are downed poles and lines in your area.
The men and women in authority are there working diligently. They're going to do their best to get the power on in the safest, most expeditious manner. And if you see a line down, please stay away. Don't assume whether you know it for sure. It's telephone or power or fiber. Leave it down. Call the utilities. Let us figure it out. Let us take care of it in a safe manner.
Erica Parsons, News 2.
Again, officials remind you not to touch any downed power lines. If you see one or if you see a downed pole, report it to WAPA at their emergency call center 773-0150 on St. Croix and 774-1424 on St. Thomas. The territory's emergency management officials were up all night monitoring Erica's path as the storm made its way through the Virgin Islands. Governor Mapp issued a state of emergency at 11 p.m. last night. 12 hours later, the National Weather Service had lifted tropical storm warnings for the U.S. Virgin Islands. But as News 2's Monica Jonigan reports, government work sputtered back to normal on Friday.
Sandy, winds from Tropical Storm Erica reached its highest point, 50 miles per hour, around 5 a.m. this morning. But by 8 a.m. local time, it was clear that the St. Thomas-St. John district had been spared the worst. That's when Governor Mapp lifted the curfew for the St. Thomas-St. John district and ordered government employees back to work by 11 a.m. Though it was unclear how many got the message, we drove by the Justice Department this afternoon, and shutters were still on the Superior Court building, and court was closed. Vitima officials have said though Erica has moved on, they still have plenty of work to do.
This is what we have to do after the storm. We send out the first responders again to make sure that it's clear, it's all clear, so the residents could get back to where they live. We send out our PA, public assistance department here to do assessment if any have any damage, because we have to collect all information, and just in case we have to declare a disaster. After the storm, if you have a lot of damage, we want all them to stay out also, because the first responder have to get out of there to clean the street, to do every debris they have to move. So if you get on the street, you'll be hampering our efforts to bring back the community to the way it's supposed to come back to.
Government workers commuting between St. Thomas and St. John may not have been able to return to work by 11 a.m. on Friday as requested. At that time, ports had not been reopened.
Coast Guard continues to make their assessment, so folks cannot travel between St. Thomas and St. John. If you are in St. John and you are stationed in St. Thomas, you won't be able to get there, but if your agency has offices on the island of St. John, we ask that you report to duty there. Likewise, if you live in St. Thomas and you work on St. John, you will not be able to make it over to St. John, so we ask you to report to your agency on St. Thomas.
Director Barnes of Vitima traveled with the governor this afternoon from St. Thomas to St. Croix to continue post-Erica assessments. FEMA officials tell News 2 that no federal funds were made available to the territory as a result of the state of emergency. Reporting for News 2, I'm Monica Jonigan.
On the approach of Hurricane Danny, Governor Mapp activated the National Guard to help maintain order. The Territory Military Service order expired at 5 p.m. today and will not be extended, according to a Government House release. Turn our attention to crime reports as residents were preparing for Tropical Storm Erica on Thursday at roughly 8:56 p.m. Police say a 53-year-old victim stated that he'd been operating his vehicle on the Melvin Evans Highway when another vehicle approached from behind and passed him. As the two neared the Sunny Isle intersection, the vehicle in front of the victim veered into the turn lane leading towards the Hess Access Road. However, the driver of the vehicle that the victim had been following doubled back and began to follow him. The victim stated that a vehicle suddenly passed him and he heard a loud noise and realized that he'd been shot. The vehicle involved in the incident was described as a silver or white-colored Jeep, while the driver was described as being a light-skinned complexion male. The victim sustained gunshot wounds to both of his forearms. Also later that evening at 9:18, a 55-year-old male reported that he was driving on the area of Contentment when a passing vehicle discharged shots at him. The victim was unhurt and was only able to tell officers that the gunfire came from a green-colored Jeep. Call police if you have any information as they continue their investigation. Well, the Community and Police Association, also known as CAPA, along with the Bavoni Homeowners Association, they're inviting you to attend the next meeting in an attempt to discuss concerns regarding crime, drugs, trash, traffic, etc. They will also discuss the street addressing initiative to help improve the 911 service. Police department heads, public works, traffic, they're all asked to attend this meeting, 6 p.m. at the Bavoni Church on Monday. Keeping our eye on the economy, here's a look at the New York Stock Exchange with our Stock Market Watch. The Dow down 11, NASDAQ and S&P 500 up, NASDAQ 15, S&P 500 1. Coming up on News 2, some rescheduled events you need to know about. Plus, a few organizations are collecting food items to benefit the victims for our neighboring island, Dominica, devastated by Tropical Storm Erica. That's coming up next. Welcome back. Well, after the storm passed, the U.S. Coast Guard assessed the waterways, made sure the routes taken by ferries and other boaters were clear, and reopened all seaports in the U.S. Virgin Islands Friday morning. Virgin Islands Port Authority Executive Director Carlton Dow reminded travelers to contact their airlines and the ferry or barge service providers directly for schedule. The Cyril E. King Airport on St. Thomas and the Henry E. Rolson Airport on St. Croix were both open early this morning. All airport employees were asked to report to work and asked to use their airport ID badges as curfew passes. Meanwhile, the West Indian Company Limited has an updated ship schedule for the coming week. The Carnival Liberty is confirmed for Saturday, August 29th. The ship will arrive at 7 a.m. and depart at 5 p.m. It was originally scheduled to visit St. Thomas on Monday, August 24th. Royal Caribbean's Adventure of the Seas, that's confirmed to make its regularly scheduled call on Sunday, August 30th. The ship will arrive at 7:30 a.m. and depart at 5 p.m. Norwegian Getaway has canceled its Tuesday, September 1st call to St. Thomas and heading to the Western Caribbean. All other ships scheduled for the week of Sunday, August 30th through Saturday, September 5th will arrive as planned. Dominica's Prime Minister is Roosevelt Skerritt confirmed via Twitter that 12 people are confirmed dead as a result of Tropical Storm Erica. Home videos pouring in from residents of the island nation show flood waters ravishing entire neighborhoods, washing away road, cars, and causing deadly mudslides. The Prime Minister acknowledged the death toll may be higher, and he could not confirm the number of injuries. The hardest hit area of the island is Petite Savane. According to reports, the National Weather Service says more than a foot of rain fell on the island in less than 12 hours. Governor Mapp is urging Virgin Islanders to support relief efforts now underway to assist victims in Dominica. Governor Mapp has also pledged the government's assistance in making available all information required by individuals and businesses willing to support the relief effort. Mapp says he will raise the subject during planned meetings with the governor of Puerto Rico, Alejandro Garcia Padilla. Meanwhile, some have started the efforts. Rotary East, Paradise Covenant Ministries International, Paradise Cove Resort, and Kappa, they are all collecting non-perishable food items and basic toiletries at the following sites there on the screen: Paradise Covenant Ministries, Vitraco Mall, Paradise Cove Resort, Red Hook Fortress Storage behind the hospital. Collection sites will open on Saturday, August 29th, and they will receive items until Saturday, September 5th, 2015. The hours for each site are 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. each day. Also, an emergency meeting was held at the Wasim Dominic headquarters early this evening, and that message came from Paul Alexander to discuss some of the relief efforts as well. Well, between 6 and 10, St. Thomas residents took advantage of available space at the Nude Hansen Red Cross shelter set up in advance of Erica reaching the territory Thursday night. Thankfully, low-lying areas of St. Thomas were not affected. By Friday morning, staff and volunteers had packed up and residents cleared out. The shelter was prepared to house up to 50 individuals, families, and even their pets. And Human Services officials say they'll be ready the next time inclement weather calls them to duty. Here are some closures. UVI was closed today. Classes will resume on Saturday, August 29th, and the campus expected to reopen on Monday. UVI's ad drop period has been extended to the end of business day on Tuesday, September 1st. The PAL branch of Fredericksted's planned a Time to Build a Better Virgin Islands Ride Out Against Violence that was scheduled to be held on Friday, August 28, has been postponed. A new date has not yet been determined. The St. John Bike Rodeo 2015, presented by the St. John Community Integration Team, that was slated for Saturday, August 29th at the Julius Sproul Elementary School ball field. That has been postponed. No date set as yet. YWCA USVI decided to postpone the event A Taste of Thailand that was scheduled for this coming Saturday to September 19th. Beginning at 4:30 p.m., they will honor the earlier tickets. Well, Hope reminds the community that they will still be providing the biometric screening services to the government employees on St. John tomorrow at the Department of Human Services from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. All employees must walk with their insurance card and a government-issued ID. All screening results will be given within 20 minutes. The innovative business office and wireless retail stores at Estate Diamond and St. Croix and the St. Thomas St. John business office and the wireless retail stores were all open. Innovative's technical teams were dispatched to perform assessment of damages. As we announced earlier, Scotiabank and Banco Popular were open for business as usual. DPNR anticipates negative environmental impacts caused by the stormwater runoff, and they're advising the public to refrain from using the coastal waters throughout the territory until further notification. They're also advising parents to instruct their children to keep away from stormwater impacted beaches, as well as areas with manholes and stormwater flooding. There may be an elevated health risk to anyone swimming in stormwater impacted areas as a result of increased concentrations of bacteria. All Virgin Islands Waste Management Authority staff were asked to report to work at 11 a.m. on Friday. All St. Thomas St. John district facilities and offices resumed regular business hours. The St. Croix required operation staff were asked to report to work. The St. Croix transfer station was opened for the acceptance of storm debris from the Department of Public Works and its designated haulers. Well, a price freeze is in effect. That's the word from DLCA Commissioner Devin Carrington. Prices are frozen at existing levels on all items of food, general supplies, and services in accordance with VI rules and regulations. The items, whether locally produced or imported, are restricted from being exported or sold outside of the territory until a subsequent order is issued to lift it. All merchants are forbidden to alter the ordinary delivery methods, terms, discounts, concessions, or method of payment. The sale price shall not be higher than the fixed price. Merchants are also forbidden from refusing to accept VI government vouchers during the emergency period. You can call DLCA for more information. Also, DLCA announced the recall of over 2 million pounds of Oscar Mayer turkey bacon produced between May 31st, 2015 and August 6, 2015. The turkey bacon may have spoiled before its best when used by date and may make consumers susceptible to foodborne illness. These are the items to avoid right there. The Oscar Mayer selects uncured turkey bacon with best when used by dates of August 24th, 2015 through October 26, 2015. The turkey bacon smoked cured turkey chopped and formed with best when used by dates of August 28th through August 20th, 2015. Turkey bacon smoked cured turkey chopped and formed with the best when used by dates of September 3rd, 2015 through October 30th, 2015. The products, these items were shipped nationwide and exported to the Bahamas and St. Martin. If you have purchased any of the identified items, do not consume them. Make contact with the retailer where the product was purchased from with respect to refunds, or you can call DLCA for more information. Well, the next drawing of the Virgin Islands Lottery, number 857, was supposed to be held on Thursday, August 27th. However, due to Erica, that drawing will now occur on Tuesday, September 1st, 2015. So be sure to purchase a sheet of the Virgin Islands Educators VI Lottery ticket with a $175,000 grand prize. They take the time to recognize that we have many educators worthy of great praise. Again, that drawing will be held on Tuesday, so you still have a chance. Be sure to stick around. More on the weather that's coming up next.